understand, too, in reading about your bio, I don't know why I missed this before, that you once worked on a newspaper, that you wrote a radio column, and that you were fired because of emphasizing Edward R. Murrow's fine efforts. Why'd you give it all up?
That was one of the reasons.
It was.
The other reason, Marie, was the college I was attending in Antioch. The dean of men suggested that I continue my writing efforts, but that I not try to write for a deadline.
Not try to write? Which means
Well, you've been there.
Yeah,
Those people who write for deadlines sometimes develop bad livers. When you're under that kind of pressure, you know. And he just felt that, I guess he felt I had a certain amount of talent for writing. I should continue writing, but he said, why don't you write, go to New York and think about writing plays or something like that. The first job I got was acting, and that's how I got into acting.
But you've written too, though.
I've written. I'm now writing more, and I'm sort of coming home again a little bit on that, and directing. And I guess I'm called a hyphenate now.
I always wanted to tell the story of the suburbs, you know, because there's a lot of humor and there's a lot of things that are unique only to the suburbs. And I wanted to tell it, you know, in sort of a different way. And I got the idea from reading Centennial. And James Michener had this thing about this great frontier, this great vast land. And I thought, perfect, because the last great frontier has to be the suburbs. So we have such chapters as station wagons, ho, you know, and we're all going out to the edge of town to find our bath and a half and our tree, you know, our great American dream. And then we have, by God, we're going to be a close-knit family, or I'm going to chain you to your bed. We have the major battles fought in the suburbs, and it was really fun to do. After you started with the parody, it just sort of wrote itself.
Yeah, yeah. You talk about the myth about orgies in suburbia.
Yeah. Oh, overdone. That is just not true at all. Not true at all.
Really?
No, no. The builder started the rumor to sell more houses that there was sin in the suburbs, and there was nothing there, absolutely nothing. I can remember being so bored that I would go down to the food locker and visit my meat. You know, this was a high spot in my entire day for me. It was nothing. It was really nothing. An Avon lady once in a while.
Don't you hate that when they come up to you and say, I bet you don't remember me, or don't know who I am?
That's an invitation to be rude for me, because then I say, no, I have no idea.
They love you for that. That's not how to make a fan, is it?
Well, no, but I mean, it's a terrible idea to come up and say, I bet you don't remember me. I don't like negative beginnings anyway. It's difficult.
I have dreamed thee too long, never seen thee or touched thee, but known thee with all of my heart.
The music you've been hearing during the breaks, of course, is Richard Kiley singing Man of La Mancha, which won him awards. He originated the role on Broadway. 66?
It opened in 65 on
65,
Broadway.
yeah, and it was truly a memorable performance, a memorable production. After, well, you'll soon be over, talking about the search for the great apes. What happens after this, Richard?
Well, there are a couple of things that are pending. They're still in the formative stage, so I hesitate to talk about them. One thing is coming up is a special that I did with Eva Marie Saint and James Arness. We did it at MGM. It's called I want to say The Way the West Was Won. That's not quite right, but it's a remake of a Western called How the West Was Won.
How the West
That's
Was
right.
Oh,
it was a large ornate Western which was done about 10 years ago. This is a remake of sorts of it. Quite an exciting show, I think. Eva Marie plays my wife in it, and Jim is, I'm Jim's brother.
I hope this is an actor you like.
Arness?
No, this one.
Who's this? Joe! For God's sake!
How are you?
What a surprise!
Well, that's the idea.
How are you?
Just delighted. I was on the show with Marie last week, and I saw you were coming, and I said, be sure and give my regards. And they said, why don't you come over here and surprise him? Nothing could give me more pleasure.
Somebody said you were in town. I said, where is he, at the Hilton? And they said, no, I don't know where he's staying.
I'm staying at an apartment hotel.
Oh, are you? Yeah.
I'm in town with Mendy Wager, who sends you his...
Are you?
Yeah.
Gosh, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
I was trying to look you up.
I missed you in Absurd Person.
Why do you wear my makeup all the time?
I know, well, you were wearing it the last time I saw you.
Our next guest literally is beyond description. I mean, you have to see her to believe her.
Beyond repair.
Tula Hanley has, well, all of us know Tula Hanley. She has been with us before. She is written about quite often because she is just naturally a very colorful person. She was married to a multimillionaire, Ed Hanley. He's been dead now, what, 6 years. And Tula Hanley has, well, she has dedicated herself to making the most of her life, and she really does enjoy herself.
I'm the Merry Widow of Bradford, PA.
The Merry Widow of Bradford, PA. You get an idea of the flavor of this, of her autobiography, which is titled Love of Art and Art of Love. In the very beginning, she says in part, I picked out this one little excerpt from the foreword. It says, "My political affiliation is sexually progressive. In summary, your new friend is a modern Scheherazade who stalked out of the 1001 Arabian Nights wriggling all the way. And mind you, my visible parts are leftovers of my erstwhile beauty. But once a food is delicious, it is good to the last morsel."
True.
Wow, and there are all kinds of paragraphs like that in the book, which is a big, thick one, but she has been
My life
saving
story
notes.
in a nutshell.
She's been saving notes since 1970. And it's all set forth here. Are you having any more problems in Bradford, PA?
Oh, yes, I had lots of problems there. I don't think I have the problem. I think the women there have the problem.
Why? What's
Because they cannot, most of the people like me there, you know, the higher type of women.
Yeah.
But some women whose bodies will never be seen by anyone except their undertakers, they are jealous of me and they think that I'm too much for Bradford, but I'm too much for any place. Because you have to either accept me the way I am or you have to run out of town, because I'm not going to run out of town. Just because there are about 12,000 people in Bradford, and I suppose that maybe 1,000 don't like me because people who don't know you, they are afraid of you. You are foreign, you are outspoken. I can never be outspoken by anybody. But you know me, one of the 10 best undressed women of the world.
I take it, Mr. Lindsay, that you were hurt when you talk about politics the way you do.
You accumulate a lot of scars, and you shed a lot of blood.
Is there something that still comes back to you, that you feel great hostility
No,
towards?
you must shake it off. You must get rid of, if you have any trace of bitterness over any aspect of political life, well, you must get rid of it because it's very destructive. And that's true of one's spouse too. You cannot have that kind of thing gnawing at you in any way. And I've seen it happen to people, and it's murderous.
When you say someone's spouse, what are you saying? When there was unhappiness between two people?
No. If a husband and wife, like you're taking my own case, Mary and myself, we're out of government, out of politics. There's a little bit of bitterness, tiny bit in both of us, and when we see it in each other, we don't like it, and we remind ourselves, you know, out, no more, cut it out, because it is destructive. Mary the other day said, boy, 17 years of public life, and I don't think, we've been out of it for 2.5 years, and I don't think I've heard a single person say thank you once. And I said to Mary, I said, don't forget one important thing. The public owes nothing to politicians, nothing. And they don't have to say thank you. A politician asks to serve, he asks for votes, and when he's finished with it, he becomes a private citizen like everybody else, and the trust is passed on to somebody else, and the public owes you nothing. But she has to remind me of the same, too. Once in a while, if I get an edge of bitterness, and I read about some person who I once thought was a friend, who turns out to be an SOB, and I say so. And she says, remember what you tell me, cut it out.
Did you get bitter, Governor, when you have this realization that when you talk about what people say is a health matter, that is not a health matter, that is a paralysis, do you get bitter that this may be keeping you from attaining top position?
No, I do not get bitter. I'm not bitter at anyone. In fact, I've always been made to be by the press as being a non-compassionate individual, but that's not true. I'm not even bitter at the individual who shot me. I'm very sorry, and I hope he's been forgiven. I know that I've forgiven him.
The smile you see on my guest's face can be directly traced to the votes of some 9,000 citizens in Wisconsin, the voters who helped former Georgia Governor Jimmy Carter win the primary election in Wisconsin yesterday. It's another in a string of primary victories for Governor Carter, who has been involved in so many that he's lost count, literally. I asked just before the program today how many primaries he's been involved in, and he had to start counting in his fingers. That's tough, isn't it? I mean, to work this way?
Well, we've still got about 20 or 22 to go, I think. We've been through 8, I think. But
8, you think, at least 8?
I believe it's 8, but we've had good luck. We've been through, I think, 16 or 18 states in all, and I've come in second 3 times, and I've come in first now 11 times. So that's a fairly good record.
Physically, it must be a very difficult thing.
Well, I've worked all my life in the fields as a young person and, you know, as a naval officer. And I don't think it's any worse than picking cotton or working on Admiral Rickover in the Navy.
But you didn't do that until a long time ago.
Well, that was true, a long time ago. But we've enjoyed it in a way. We have a campaign that we began to plan more than 3.5 years ago, and it's a careful presentation, and we have eliminated all of our staff arguments, you know, in months gone past. Now we have a certain amount of time allotted to each state of my own. We have 11 members of my family who campaign full-time. My wife and I've been married almost 30 years in July. We have 3 grown sons, and all their wives, they campaign. That's 6 more. My brother campaigned in Wisconsin. My youngest sister campaigns. My mother's youngest sister, and my oldest son's mother-in-law. So that's 12 of us in all. And then we have an 8-year-old daughter at home whom we see.
You haven't recruited her too, have you?
She's campaigned a good bit, but she goes to school. She's in the 3rd grade, and she can only work on weekends.
Lots of plumes and feathers and lace, sequins, beads. Lots of cover-up, in other words. Funny thing, you don't think about cover-up when it comes to an exotic dancer, but these actually do belong to Chesty Morgan, who is appearing all this week at the Palace Theater on Liberty Avenue. Chesty Morgan, 73, 24, 34, hails from Israel, where she was in the Army. What brought you here, Miss Morgan?
Oh, I married an American tourist. I always dreamed to come to the United States, like every girl dreams in Europe. And I married an American tourist, and this is the way I came here.
Doesn't it bother your husband, though, that you expose half your body in these performances?
No, my husband met me while I was in this business, so he knew what he goes in for, you know, before he married me, you know, so it doesn't bother him, you know. We have a nice home. We live in St. Petersburg, Florida, and New York City.
Miss Morgan, when you perform on stage as you do you have to take special care of your body?
Yes, I don't eat very much. Sometimes I just have grapefruit juice, and I would have tomato juice for a whole day. I'm very hungry, and I see people, you know, eating cake, and I love cake, but I can't eat it.
How come this dieting doesn't affect your bust, though?
No, my bust always was big, you know.
At the conclusion of each of her performances, Chesty Morgan engages in a question-and-answer session with her audience. One of the most common questions asked is, how does she sleep? Her answer, very well and very relaxed with the money she makes. Marie Torre at the Palace Theater for Eyewitness News.
At the racquetball tournament in Lauderdale, there were 8 ranging from the juniors to the women and to the men and old.
Really, probably the biggest racquetball is that anyone at any level can step in the court and enjoy it. Giving it to tennis